Hello and welcome, and thanks for joining us here this evening or this afternoon, depending on what quest you're on, for our Snorkl 101 webinar. My name is Jon Laven. I'm one of the co-founders of Snorkl. I'm super excited to get to share Snorkl with you here today. If you are joining us live, I invite you to drop a message in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from, and would love to hear about maybe just quickly what you teach. If you drop that in the chat too, and I can give some shout outs here right off the bat. So great to get to join you. I just spent the whole day actually visiting classrooms and getting to see Snorkl in action, elementary school classrooms, high school classrooms. And so I'm really excited to get to share with you some of what I've got to see over the last 12 hours. I'm also a former high school math teacher. My co-founder Jeff is a former 5th grade teacher, and both of us come to Snorkl by way of the classroom. Really importantly, we think that our students have really rich thinking that's worth capturing and sharing. And that's really our mission and our goal in Snorkl is how do we capture student thinking in rich ways? How do we celebrate that thinking? How do we give students support, ask them questions that help them improve, and give teachers insights? And so whether you are brand new to Snorkl or if you've been using Snorkl for a while, great to have you join us here. And I'm excited to get to jump in. In just a little bit here, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to walk us through some Snorkl activities. I'm going to actually show you some Snorkl responses. And I'm going to invite you to try out a Snorkl activity at home as well. But thanks so much for joining here. And thanks for dropping here in the chat where you're coming from. Awesome to have you here. DJ Bello, Chelsea, Christine, Scott out in Arcadia. Awesome. Great to have you here, Scott. Linda, Adele, Karel. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing these names wrong. Amjad, Marilyn, Lisa. Awesome to have you here. Antoinette. Awesome. Some math teachers in the house. Cyber school. Oh, that sounds fun. A K612 coach, Stephanie. Great to have you here. Awesome. Please, from South Korea, Nicole, great to have you here from South Korea too. Please feel free to drop questions, comments in the chat throughout, and I'll be sure to try to answer them as we go, and we'll save a little bit of time for those questions at the end as well. I also have a teammate here joining me on the chat here. Megan is helping to answer some of those questions in the chat as we go along, so please feel free to drop a note in there. Bella, I see your question right there. Yeah, we'll be sending the recording out afterwards. The recording of this is going to go out to everyone afterwards, anyone who signed up. I'm glad you got the socks, Cecil. All right, with that, let me share my screen and just talk a little bit about what Snorkl is, how it works, and then I'm going to invite you to actually get in there and try it. So let me make sure I click the right buttons here. All right, there's the right button. All right, this is where I want to start. Snorkl at its heart is about how to capture student thinking in rich ways. And one of those ways that we allow students to share their thinking in Snorkl is by actually allowing them to talk, speak, explain, and record their thinking, and then get instant feedback. And so this is a activity that is, I would say, really academically rigorous and important. But this is the peanut butter and jelly sandwich question. Classic question. How would you explain how to build a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to someone who's never made one before? And this is what a Snorkl activity looks like. So students see the question from their teacher. They have different tools to show their thinking, so they can draw and highlight and type out text. And then what makes Snorkl really special is when students are ready, they press this purple record button and they can talk and explain. And they can explain, well, when I make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, what I do is I take out a jar of peanut butter and a jar of jelly, and I put the peanut butter and the jelly on the bread, and that makes my sandwich. All right, that was probably not a great explanation. I probably could have gone into a lot more detail there about how exactly I put that on the bread and how I made it into a sandwich. But when I submit my response, the AI is going to analyze it and give me personalized feedback and a score. And what's really, really powerful about this is you can do this with any content and at any grade level. You can do this for students explaining something that they are reading or they're writing about. You can do this about information from a open-ended question about science or about social studies. You can do this about how students are solving a math problem. You can do this about how students are answering questions in other languages. Really, really awesome opportunities for our students to share and to explain. You'll see here on the right-hand side, it was not very impressed by my explanation. I don't blame it. I wasn't very impressed by my explanation either. And so what I actually want to do is transition here to let you try making an explanation and share your thinking in Snorkl. And so I have set up the same activity that I just showed you here in Snorkl, and now you can see it there on your screen. And there is a join code, and an access link. So the URL is join.snorkl.app. And the code here is DKR39R. I'm going to invite you to actually open this up, open up a different tab, and you can type in join.snorkl.app as your URL, and then DKR39R. And you'll see the option there. I added the guest sign-in option as well, so you can also sign in as a guest and make up or just put in your first name or whatever you want to enter in there. And once you get in there, I'll give everyone a moment here to open this up. Once you get in there, you will see a purple start response button. And then when you click on that, it will bring you to a whiteboard. And on that whiteboard, you see all the same tools I just showed you. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mute myself here for the next 2 minutes, which I know is a little bit weird to do on a webinar, but I want to get you the chance to actually try this. And I'm going to challenge you to explain your thinking on how you're making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I will warn you right now, it's difficult to get a 4 out of 4 on this activity. And it's actually more fun also if you want to try doing something weird like putting mayonnaise or something on your peanut butter jelly sandwich and just see what feedback you get. So with that, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Try this out. Try clicking that record button, speak and share your thinking, and then you can get some feedback, and we'll come back together in 2 minutes. All right, if you are just joining us, I don't want to cut anyone off, but we are working on this peanut butter and jelly sandwich question here in Snorkl. I see several responses starting to roll in here. If you haven't yet submitted your response, I invite you to go ahead and press that end and review and submit button, and we're going to start to see those scores roll in here in real time. I see it all here, and I put anonymous names up, so everyone's anonymous here, but the maroon monkey here got a 4 out of 4, and excellent, awesome. Also, the silver swan and the is that the tapir? I should know how to pronounce that. Awesome. See lots of fours. Also see some some other lower scores here. Maybe some people are trying something experimentally. Oh, I see some in other languages as well. Snorkel can understand student thinking in over 65 different languages. And so providing students with all these rich ways of sharing, explaining their thinking. And what do you see in the top right-hand corner of your response? If you still have your Snorkel response open, what do you see there? I love Danielle. Love it in the chat. Yeah, you should see a respond again button in the top right hand corner. And this is how Snorkel is getting used in classrooms. Is students are using that feedback right away to respond again and to improve their thinking. So I'll show here on my screen. I've got this respond again button. And so students can right away use that feedback, respond, and improve. The average activity in Snorkel is attempted 2.1 times. In other words, the average activity in Snorkel is attempted by students more than twice. And I think that that speaks to, yeah, the power of immediate feedback, but also, I think really importantly, to the power of student ownership over their work when their voice is attached to it. And it's one of the things that makes Snorkel so powerful is we let students share and explain their thinking, improve their thinking, and get feedback on it so they can keep going. If you didn't quite get to submit yet, or if you wanted to try again, you can keep that link open. Feel free to try again with the peanut butter and jelly sandwich question later. When you submit your work, when you submit your work, the AI is analyzing both your voice and what you show on the whiteboard. So you could actually also type a response in there as well. Snorkel will analyze both your written and your spoken work. And I shared this beforehand, but it is hard to get a 4 out of 4 on the peanut butter and jelly sandwich question. So hats off to, or snorkels off to all the folks here who got 4 out of 4. This is the teacher dashboard. This is what I'm showing here on my screen right now. And so teachers in real time can see their student work from across the class. It's automatically being scored by the AI. If someone tried multiple times, Snorkel will save each of their attempts, and you can jump in and you can watch back and listen to their response and see what they said and see the feedback. We also give teachers the option to override and change student scores and feedback, so you can make adjustments if you need to. And when you're setting up a Snorkel activity, you actually have the option to decide what the AI should look for in a strong response. So you can actually give the AI guidance and criteria for success. And that means that Snorkel is really adaptable to any learning goals at any grade level or any content area. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about how you can create and set up Snorkel activities in just a few moments. If you are still on the Snorkel side of exploring on the student side, I invite you to check out what I'm going to show here on the screen right now, because I'm going to show a little bit more of the teacher side. And I'm going to get you back into the platform here in a little bit more on the teacher side in a moment, but I want to just show you what Snorkel does for teachers. So as students are submitting their work, I went over here to a math example now because I want you to see this. I'm seeing my student responses in real time. They're automatically getting scores and feedback. I can jump into individual responses. And then this is what's really powerful. We can actually analyze the class as a whole to give teachers insights into class trends. So the Insights tab here will show me what are my top student responses in the class, and then what are some of the mistakes or misconceptions my students have across the class, so that I know who I might support or pull into a small group to give extra attention to. This is doing this automatically grouping my students by misconception on any activity that's pre-built in the Snorkel library or any activity that you create with your own curriculum. I think sometimes there's this fear that when we're using technology in the classroom, we can put more distance between ourselves and our students. And really, that's not the goal here. The goal is actually we can get ourselves closer to seeing, understanding, and celebrating our student thinking across the class in a way that would have otherwise been impossible. I can click on any of my individual students' responses here, actually see and hear and listen to what they're saying and thinking. I have the chance and opportunity to actually go around and check in with my students as they're sharing and explaining their thinking. And so I want to show you an example of what that looks like in a classroom. In Snorkel, we have a library of pre-built content, math, science, ELA, social studies, world languages, all subject areas. We actually have a partnership with Illustrative Math, and we have their cooldowns pre-built in here, Edu Protocols content if you are an Edu Protocoler. And then you can also search all this by standard. I want to show you two examples. So first, I want to share with you, this is an example of a third grade student. And let me just refresh my screen here. And I'm going to make sure that I'm sharing my audio. If you get a chance here, let me know real fast in the chat if my audio is not coming through. I think this should come through okay. This is a third grade student explaining his thinking on an ELA activity here that we're going to watch real quick.
Okay, this is my question and I'll answer it for you simply. What is a verb? Now, a verb is like, like you wouldn't sit, like, it's hard to explain, but like a verb, like, is an action word. It means like running, like the word running, that's a verb. Now, here's question 2 right here. Hold on. Yeah. Which is the verb in the sentence? Every fall, Tala prepares for the Cabru with her family. The word prepare is she's preparing to do that. So, I'll go into the little pen, circle that. It prepares because it's telling you she's preparing for that. And now, right here, question 3. Complete the sentence below with the correct tense of the verb hunt. So, the Inuit people of Alaska have Cabru herds for many centuries. Have right. The people. See, have. I'm pretty sure I would say had the correct tense, so it'd be the Inuit people of Alaska have had caribou herds for many centuries.
He is so close. He's looking for the past tense of the word hunt. He comes up with had. And so he gets to get some immediate feedback there on his thinking. He has some praise on what he's doing well. Great job explaining that verb as an action word and giving running as an example. You correctly identify prepares as the verb and explain what shows what Tala is doing. And then the last piece of feedback, you seem confused about the missing word. Can you think about what form the word hunt would fit in this sentence? You can have this feedback read aloud to him, and then he can use that feedback immediately to actually revise and improve his response. And so I just want to put a quick question up here on the screen and ask you this. And if you would take a moment here and just drop some thoughts in the chat. The question on the screen here is, what makes that experience so powerful for a student? I have lots of thoughts, but want to invite you to drop something in the chat here if you want to respond to that question there. Yeah, Danielle, Lisa, appreciate that. Yeah, there's something really powerful about that immediate feedback. Yeah. I think that, yeah, that is this piece, Cecil, too, also like we're capturing this really rich artifact of this moment of the students thinking. It's one-to-one, it's personalized. There is agency here. And I also hear a lot of ownership of this student in their thinking. What happens when you walk into a classroom where kids are using Snorkl in this way, when they're making recordings like this, is you get to see and hear 30 kids talking about their thinking at once, which is just a powerful, powerful form of engagement. And when students are doing this, they're activating their metacognition, they're activating their academic language, they're getting at bats to share and to take ownership. And honestly, I'm with students all the time who will get through their explanation and they'll realize partway through their explanation that something in their explanation needs fixing. It has nothing to do with the AI feedback. Just the act of having to share it and explain it out loud is so, so powerful for our students. And then we layer on top of that instantaneous feedback. So thank you so much for dropping some notes here in the chat. Also, feel free to drop questions in the chat. Megan's responding, and I'm also going to jump back into the chat here a little bit more in just a couple minutes so I can make sure I answer questions that we haven't answered yet. But I want to show you a few more things. One is how powerful Snorkl can be for supporting our English language learners. Obviously, developing academic language is something that's important in every content for every teacher. For students who are developing their English language proficiency, Snorkl provides this really rich opportunity for them to practice explaining their thinking in math and science and social studies and everywhere across the board. We have lots of schools and districts right now who are really digging into Snorkl, especially because it's helping them with their WIDA and access scores or their TELPAS scores or their oral exams for their English language learners. It's also an opportunity to create access for students. And so I'm not going to share this whole video, but I just want to show a quick snippet. This is a student who's actually recording and explaining his thinking here in Chinese, in Mandarin.
括号，我可以先看 A， 这个东西我们可以把它看成乘法分配。
He's explaining his math thinking here, and you'll see in the bottom, his response is automatically closed caption in English. With the click of a button as a teacher, I can actually transform that into English. Sorry, it's closed captioning here in Chinese. I can click a button and closed caption it in English, and we can follow along in real time as he explains his thinking now and understanding his work in English.
配率第一个我们可以让6乘以 x， 然后将6乘以4。 先看6乘以 x 等于 6x， 然后这里有个减，这里有个减的符号。
He keeps going, and he does a fantastic job explaining his thinking. You'll see here, if you didn't catch it, those subtitles are in English, so we can understand what he's saying. He can also get feedback in Chinese and Mandarin, and we can instantly translate it back to English. Snorkl supports students to explain their thinking in over 45 different languages. Snorkl also allows you to assign different types of activities. So you can assign writing activities in Snorkl, where students just write a response instead of speaking and recording. This could be, for example, like fixing the grammar mistakes in these sentences. This could also be having students write a short story or looking at documents, DBQ, CER. There's lots of possibilities. So there's lots of different ways that you can leverage Snorkl, again, to all around this essential idea of how do we capture student thinking and give students immediate personalized feedback. And so with that, I want to invite you, if you haven't yet done this, I want to invite you to actually sign into a teacher account. And I want to just show you how you can find things in the library and the fact that you can create your own Snorkl activities. Here before we time runs out, we made this webinar just 30 minutes. I know teachers' time is super precious, and so I want to honor your time here, but we just want to invite you to actually create a Snorkl account if you haven't yet done so. And so if you haven't done so, the website is snorkl.app. Snorkl.app. And when you sign into snorkl.app, it will prompt you there to create an account and either sign up as a teacher or as a student. You're going to want to select teacher. And when you get in, you should make it to a homepage that looks something like this. So I'll pause here just for a second for you to get signed into your account. I'm just getting caught up in the chat here. Yeah. So many great thoughts here about that, the power of that experience for the student. All right, so if you are here on the teacher homepage, there's 3 buttons across the top, and I want to talk about what each of these does. The first one here you'll see is try a sample activity. At the beginning of our time here, if you were caught the beginning of this webinar, we tried the peanut butter and jelly sandwich question. There are other sample activities in here across different content areas and grade levels that you can try out yourself as well. You'll notice that when you click on try a sample activity, it brings you into the student mode. And to go back to teacher mode, you just click on that purple bar up at the top, click to return to teacher, and now I'm back on my teacher side. So you can go back and forth and try out different activities as a student in Snorkl, and then go back as a teacher. The Snorkl library is the second button. The Snorkl library has pre-created content across all grade levels, K through 12. We have lots of math content, science content, ELA, social studies, world languages. There is a general and getting started activities section of the library. And in there, you'll find actually the same peanut butter and jelly sandwich question we just did. You can assign that to your students. It's a really low stakes way to introduce Snorkl to your students. And I don't care whether you teach first grade or 12th grade, they will enjoy the peanut butter and jelly sandwich question. I say that as a former high school math teacher. Kids love that. And I was in several classrooms today from elementary school all the way through high school. I think one of the things that's really, really powerful about Snorkl is how versatile it is. If you are in the reading and language arts section, you'll actually see there are reading fluency passages, and you can have your students practice their reading fluency and get feedback on their reading pronunciation and intonation. We use different AI tools depending on the type of activity it is in Snorkl. And so when students are working, for example, on a math response, they're not going to get feedback on their pronunciation because that could be distracting. But when they're working on reading fluency, that's really important. And so we use different AI tools to give them that feedback. You can also search the Snorkl library by standard. And then I'm going to go back to the homepage. And the last thing I want to show is that you can create your own Snorkl activities. You can actually put in your own questions from your own curriculum. You can just simply add it to the whiteboard. The AI will analyze it and set up an answer key for you when you press the big generate from question button. And you can adjust what that answer key says and what criteria it's looking for. And so you can put in questions from your, let's say, your state assessment that you want students to practice for, from your textbook, from a worksheet that you have, and anything that you can create in Snorkl, you can actually share with your colleagues down the hall or across the district. You can share that Snorkl link so they can use it with their students as well. We have school and district libraries in Snorkl so that schools and districts can create common shared resources that are curriculum aligned. I feel like I've just touched the tip of the iceberg here with all the things that you can do in Snorkl. I want to jump back over to the chat. Feel free to drop in any questions that you have, and let us know if there's ways that we can support you as you're exploring Snorkl more. Yeah, great questions in here about fluency. Yeah, anything that's in the library can be, you can try out as a student, and then you can go back into teacher mode to assign it to your students. You can also edit anything that's in the library by adding it to your own library first. The fluency passages are based roughly around Lexile grade levels. And then you can also add your own reading fluency passages as well, especially if you have something from your own reading fluency curriculum that you want to add. John, good question. We don't have any student-facing tutorials. What we find is that oftentimes a little bit of instruction from the teacher about, hey, this is how Snorkl works, or even modeling it in front of the class can be a great option. So for example, before I shared that peanut butter and jelly sandwich question here with the group, I modeled it first real quickly, and we find that that can be a really powerful way to roll it out. Yeah, as far as the teacher dashboard here, I had this on an anonymous mode. Let me see if I can find that class again. So in my classroom here right now, you can see everyone's name. This is our classroom full of friends. We got Ross and Monica and Chandler in here. There's a toggle here to make these anonymous. So you can switch back and forth between anonymous or not. When you assign share activities with your students in Snorkl, you just share a join code or a join link the same way that we got into that peanut butter and jelly sandwich question at the beginning of our time together. With that, it has been super fun to get to spend the last 30 minutes with you all. If you have any questions at all, if you need more support, we're here to support. My email is john@snorkl.app. I'll drop it here in the chat. and feel free to reach out if you have questions. You can also find other videos on our YouTube channel. We got a bunch of webinars in there from teachers who teach science, world languages, math, social studies, ELA, sharing about how they use Snorkl in their classroom. We're also happy to jump out on a call anytime with you, schedule a PD, and share more. And of course, invite you to get snorkeling. We have a lot of fun sharing it with other teachers and getting in classrooms and seeing it in action. So thanks so much for joining. Hope that you walked away with some new understanding of what Snorkl can do. And please reach out if you have questions. Take care.